Hey, what is up, guys? It's Cam Bam here. Today we're going to be doing another reaction video. This one is going to be another music kind of related reaction, and it's going to be why is mainstream music or modern music so bad nowadays? And this is something I really do truly care about because I really have realized the underground stuff is the stuff that's good, and the mainstream stuff is the one that's just not good anymore. It sucks. So mostly. But yeah, we're going to be reacting to this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, let's get into the video.
This week's artist spotlight is British rock band Naughty Juice. What's up, everybody? I'm Finn McKenty. This is the Punk Rock MBA, and this is a video that I never thought I would make because if you've seen a lot of my other content, you know that I'm usually the one defending new music, and I really do not want to be that old guy complaining about modern music like one of those awful old Facebook memes from 2010. But to be honest, I've had a really hard time getting into a lot of the music over the last few years, and I don't think it's just me getting old.
Here we go with Taylor Swift. I cannot stand Swifties. Oh God, her whole fan base, her music, all of it sucks. And I'm gonna say that not lightly. Her music is trash. Have you ever heard Bad Blood? I mean, that song is horrible. And this is what mainstream is. This is why I cannot stand mainstream. The main one I can't stand is Taylor Swift, by far.
I think something really did change.
Music, yeah.
Specifically, I think we're in the era of what I like to call
vibe. What is that guy dressed in?
And what I mean by that is that as recently as 5 or 10 years ago, in pretty much every genre, it was all about the hook. That big chorus or riff that gets stuck in your head and you just like can't get it out. Whether that's something like, say, My Chemical Romance in rock or 21 Savage in hip hop. But if you listen to what's trending now, for the most part, you really don't hear those kind of big hooks anymore. True. Now it's all about mood, aesthetics, and for lack of a better word, vibe over hooks. Whether it's stuff like this in rock, there was traffic, spilled my coffee, crashed my car otherwise. Or this in hip hop.
I will give 2023. I'm gonna move my webcam, but 2023 is actually my least favorite music year of all time. I think so far. 2023 for both movies and music was a trash year for media. I could not stand a lot of the songs except for NF's new Hope album. Other than that, a lot of other songs were okay, but that year overall was a trash year for music and movies, both. But yeah.
That emphasis on hooks just isn't there anymore. And despite
I'm gonna move my webcam a little bit smaller so I can see, you guys can see.
The title of this video, I'm not necessarily saying that new music is bad, but I
What
do
the heck
think
is
that
Post
something is
Malone
fundamentally
doing?
different and maybe not necessarily in a better way. And what it comes down to, I think,
oh God, here we go. Ice Spice too. That's another one I cannot stand. Only reason she's popular is because people think she's hot. She's not a good musician at all. Not at all.
One simple thing. Music is no longer the main attraction.
Sucks.
It's the soundtrack to something else. Whether that's in the background of TikToks, a song in a video game, or maybe just something you have on in the background while you're dicking around on your phone. Because of that, I think we are in the era of vibe music. So the question is, what happened? Why don't we care about hooks the same way as we used to? And does modern music actually suck? Or am I just getting old?
Yes.
Those are the questions that I will try to answer in this video. And also, I want to thank Helix Sleep for sponsoring this video. I've had my Helix mattress for about 9 months now, and honestly, I absolutely love it. I really do. It is so much more comfortable than the one we used to have. Every faster, enhancing objects, and it's sleep.com/punkrock. But before I talk about why this is happening, first, let me go into a little bit more detail about exactly what I'm talking about. And this is primarily a rock and metal channel, so let me start there.
Let's rock.
If you go back to when rock was at its peak of popularity in, say, the 2000s, and you go down the list of the big bands, or actually even a lot of the smaller ones, you'll see that they had some just objectively great songs with incredibly strong hooks. Whether that's nu metal like Linkin Park or Limp Bizkit, emo like Paramore and My Chemical Romance.
I mean, I like rock, but I really don't agree with the whole 90s and 2000s rock being the peak era. I really liked 80s stuff, rock, and 70s rock. 90s and 2000s were not good. I didn't care. There's a lot of stuff that I didn't like about that era of music, but yeah, I didn't care for rock. A lot of the rock songs then I don't care for.
Indie bands like Death Cab, or even the post-grunge bands like Nickelback or 3 Days Grace, their songs are just timeless. There's a reason that people still love them. And this is not just me getting nostalgic for the 2000s, because even as recently as 6 or 7 years ago, 21 Pilots were selling millions and millions of albums, all in the back of incredibly catchy singles like Stressed Out.
Okay, one thing I'm gonna say about 21 Pilots, and this is kind of off the video, but I liked their instrumentals. Their instrumentals like start out really, really good. And a lot of the songs I do, there are some songs I really do like from 21 Pilots. I do. Like Heathen, Stressed Out, like this one. There are some others too. But the majority of their songs, I feel like the vocalist ruins it. Ruins the entire song. I mean, I do not like his vocals at all. He sounds like he's real nasally. But like I said, some of the songs do work out very good. Like Heathens and this one, Stressed Out. These are good ones.
But since then, the big trends in rock have kind of gone in the opposite direction. For example, the new generation of indie artists like Tame Impala, where if you compare them to, say, Death Cab or Interpol, they are much more about vibe than hooks.
Ew, what is this?
As another example, one of the biggest breakout rock bands of the last decade or so, Greta Van Fleet, if you listen to their newer songs, they're just kind of meandering and don't really go anywhere.
Oh my God, really? Why? What is that?
Or on the heavier side of things, look at the recent revival of Deftones and shoegaze in general.
I also think shoegaze, is going to be a big thing, which again, shoegaze is just very ambient, a lot of guitar effectsy music. A lot of people call it kind of Deftones shoegaze.
And for anybody who may not be familiar, shoegaze refers to bands like My Bloody Valentine, who kind of do this wall of sound thing that's defined by just huge, giant, super distorted guitars with a ton of reverb and delay on it to create this just sort of dreamy feel. And almost by definition, it doesn't have any hooks, because the entire point of shoegaze is this sort of overall vibe and aesthetics, not some big hooky chorus that's going to get stuck in your head. And you add up all those trends, and to me, the picture is pretty clear. Less hooks and more vibe. And like I said,
is that the guy who plays in Morbius? That guy looks like the guy that's in Morbius.
Despite the title of this video, I'm not putting any of this stuff down. If you enjoy listening to it, that is honestly all that matters. But from my point of view, it really seems like kind of a miss to walk away from hooks like this. And I could be totally wrong, because I remember people saying the same thing in the 90s and 2000s, and maybe it's just my turn to be that guy. But I genuinely have a hard time thinking that we're going to remember these songs in 20 years, because honestly, there's just not really a lot to remember. But to be honest, none of that really surprises me, because I think rock has been on kind of a downward slide for at least the past 10 years, with hip hop driving most of the innovation and honestly just having better songs. And to me, the modern era of hip hop from say like 2012 to 2019 was one of the coolest, most exciting moments in music that I have ever experienced. It was like really fresh and experimental, with something new and completely unexpected coming out like every month,
that's falling
but it
off.
still produced so many just truly classic songs with these really incredible hooks, like Future, 21 Savage, Migos, Lil Yachty, the list goes on.
My niggas is savage, ruthless. We got 30s and 100 rounds too.
Which is why, honestly, I've been so disappointed with the last few years of hip hop, because it feels like the hooks just kind of disappeared when melodic trap took over as the dominant sound.
Now it's just microwave music, like Yeet, and even Lil Uzi's making microwave music, like Playboy Cardi, all that really bad stuff. Like that's today's hip hop. But I will say that, and this is going to be in one of my new videos that are coming out in a few weeks, but I have listened to a few underground rap. Like I said, it's not mainstream, but there are some good stuff. There is some good stuff coming out, just not in the mainstream of hip hop. But yeah.
All these weight on my back, feeling so heavy. These boys
Gunna's not bad. I don't think he's that bad.
Because I think there really was a shift in
He's actually
style
got
to
good
emphasize
instrumentals on the
vibe over
songs.
hooks. I mean, if
Baby
you
on
look
it,
at
I
it, a lot of
hate.
these artists have albums with like 20 plus tracks on them. And I feel like
Yes, I completely agree with that. Quantity over quality is what today's world is living in. Why can't we just go back to just taking our time with these projects and giving less tracks but way better quality? I would love to go back to that, but people just like want to just make as many songs as they can on these albums just to pump out tons of crap, and it's not good. But yeah, if they take their time, they could actually make it better. But yeah, I don't know what we're doing now. It makes
intended
no
listening
sense.
experience for those is just to put it on in the background
Yeah.
and just kind of let
It's
it
not
play while
good.
you vibe.
Completely
As one
agree with that.
specific example, which is kind of especially disappointing to me, look at how Lil Uzi Vert changed his sound from EXO Tour
Agreed.
Life, which
Yep.
is super catchy and full of hooks,
Should've saw the way she looked me in my
Completely agree with
eyes. She
that.
said, baby, I am not afraid to.
to I Just Wanna Rock, which has no hook and honestly barely
And
even
it's
feels
not
like
a bad
a
song, but
to
the
me. It feels like
instrumental-
an intro that just sort of never
Yeah,
turns into
I
a
agree.
song, and then it's just over.
1600 block. I just wanna rock.
The instrumental of the song is really good though, and that's the only reason I like the song. But his part is not good. I agree.
Or compare how Chicago drill has changed over the years. Back in 2012, Chief Keef basically defined the genre and blew up almost overnight, which I completely understand because like basically every line in every one of those songs is a hook.
Everybody remembers where they were when the first time they heard them. Don't like. Everybody remember that shit.
Versus now, stuff like this, which is definitely okay, but I think everybody can agree that this just isn't as catchy. Where are the hooks?
On this street shit to a street nigga and that time ain't get cold.
Ugh.
I had a best friend with a best
Lil
friend.
Durk has
she was
fallen
in a
off.
bin on throat. I got
And with hip hop, I think
I will say Lil Durk had one really good song in all my life, and that was in 2023. So I do like that song a lot. That was a good one, but now he's fallen off.
a big part of the reason for that is very simple. The
Only a
music
song I really
doesn't
like from
have
him.
to be as catchy because I think starting around maybe 6 or 7 years ago, the industry shifted to this new dynamic where now I think a rapper's lifestyle and persona and sort of the lore around them is just as important as their music, if not, honestly, maybe even more important. And maybe the best example of that is King Von. If you're not familiar with him, he was a Chicago drill rapper that was best known for allegedly being involved in as many as maybe 10 or 12 murders and rapping about many shootings and other crimes that he claims to be involved with. For example, this song.
Bad buddy, that's outside. Bet Wooski feel this one. I bet Wooski still twitching. He changed something different. I got clips like Mel Gibson.
And those lyrics are a reference to the time that his rival Wooski got shot up at a funeral.
There were a total of 6 people who were shot outside the church. It was a pandemonium, a scene of pandemonium right after
Oh,
that
wow, I didn't
happened.
know that. I knew he was a
Many
very
of those people who
big
were shot
murderer
were
and
leading a funeral.
And
Killed
to
a lot
put
of
it
people,
bluntly,
but I didn't know
I just
that.
don't
It was
think
on-
his music
on
was
that.
great. I think it's fine. It's certainly not the worst thing I've ever heard, but I think it's pretty clear that his appeal was largely because he was this alleged murderer rapping about the details
God,
of these
what the heck is
crimes
that
that he
music
very
video?
likely committed. I mean, you hear these lyrics and you're just like, holy shit, I can't believe that he is actually putting this in a
Yeah,
song. How could you not pay
how?
attention to that, even if the music isn't
shows
necessarily
no
great?
remorse.
There's also the rise of Playboy Cardi and all the
here we
many
go.
artists influenced by him, such as Yeet.
Yeet is.
I need my
Oh my god, I can't listen to this. It's so bad. It's nothing but just pure auto-tune and mumble and just I cannot stand his music. There's not a single good Yeet song. He is my least favorite rapper, by the way. He's just trash. He ruined rap. Listen to this. This is not good.
And in the case of those guys and sort of all their copycats, I think the appeal there is as
Same
much about their
Playboy Cardi,
charisma and
God.
aesthetics as it is their music. For example, Yeet always wears those headscarves and has this like whole slang
trash.
dialect of his own.
Pull up now, we finna get busy. Got surround sound inside this tizzy. Now,
What the heck does that even
also
mean?
refers to Tonka.
So it's book.
What
book,
the
book your
heck?
next hotel.
He is the worst rapper known
Said
to
it
the
earlier,
world.
you
It's
are
trash.
Up, the way that you speak
How is that mainstream now?
The Tonka turns into a tizzy.
And Cardi really is like a legitimately brilliant creative mind. And I do respect both of them for their overall
Cardi's not
vision
bad
and
as
creativity.
he,
but if
but I
you
don't
take
like him
away the
either.
image and the aesthetics and their personas and all that stuff, I just don't think the songs stand on their own compared to
Agreed.
stuff from even a few years ago like Future or 21 Savage.
Yeah,
But
Future's
again,
not
the
that good
songs
either.
don't
He has
really
a lot
have
of
to stand on their own.
auto-tune.
Because now more than ever, it's not just about the music, it's about the image and the stories behind the music. Of course, that's always been the case ever since the dawn of mass media, but it's more exaggerated now than ever. Rappers now are almost more like reality TV stars than they are
True,
musicians.
I agree.
Like how everybody is following Young Thug's RICO trial that's happening right now. And his music is almost like the soundtrack to the reality show of his life. And again, if the artists are happy making this stuff and the fans are happy to listen to it, then ultimately that's all that matters, right? But in my personal
never liked
opinion,
Young
the
Thug
net
either.
result of this sort of emphasis on lore and story and aesthetics has netted out in songs that honestly just aren't as good. And before I go on, I want to be super clear. I do not want this video to be like Old Man Yells at Cloud. Although maybe it already is, I don't know. Really, what I'm trying to do here is just understand what I believe to be this fundamental shift. And also, I want to acknowledge that there is a ton of great music coming out right now that does have great hooks that's not just
What the
like vibe
hell?
music. In particular, I think a lot of female rappers right now are delivering great hooks, like for example,
No.
Lotto or Coil.
I don't think there's a single good female. I'm not misogynist. I'm not a misogynist, but I don't think there's really any good rapper that are females right now. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like all of them just talk about like just twerking and sex and stripping stuff. Like it's not. That's not just against females at all. I really think I want there to be a good female rapper, but what we have right now is just not it. Like Ice Spice, Sexy Red, Gorillas, like all those. What is that? What her name is? Glorilla. All three of those are my least favorite right now. I can't stand either one of those. And then Taylor Swift, but she's not rap, but she's pop. Just a lot of the female artists right now are just not it for me. I don't know. That's just me personally.
Ray.
Yeah, I don't agree with that either. I don't
And
like
there's
Coi
also a ton
Leray.
of great hooks in country, like Morgan Wallen being probably the most obvious example.
Ugh. Oh,
And
country
also, I don't think
sucks.
it's a bad thing to enjoy something just based on the aesthetics. For example, for me, back in the day when I was a kid, growing up listening to punk and thrash metal, like if a band had really cool album art, it made me like their music more. So I think these things are always kind of inherently
agree with that.
intertwined, and it doesn't somehow delegitimize your taste if you like something because of the aesthetics. But with that being said, what's most interesting to me is that this shift away from hooks and towards vibe is even happening in pop music,
Yep,
which is surprising to me
definitely.
because pop has always been really defined by those hooks, sometimes even these just obnoxiously catchy ones.
Did you really have to pick
As a
that
couple
one, man?
examples of what I'm talking about here, the first thing that comes to mind is artists like Carly Rae Jepsen.
I
or
remember
Miley
when that song came out. That was actually I liked that song at the time. That is like just pure nostalgia to me. Playing that on Just Dance.
Cyrus, who built their careers off these really shiny, catchy, upbeat songs like Call Me Maybe and Party in the USA, who are now doing stuff that's more of this like hazy, lo-fi kind of feel.
I haven't even
that kinda
heard
makes you
any
feel like you
Carly Rae Jepsen, I think his name is. Her name is. Yeah, I haven't heard a single song from her since Call Me Maybe. I don't
just
know what
woke
she
up at
makes
1
now.
p.m. on a Sunday afternoon.
She was like a one-hit
after
wonder.
This crazy bender. The birds are chirping and the sun is coming into the curtains, and you're just like, ugh.
You're not even willing to look at your part. You just jump in the car and they're down at the body. You're blurry.
Those are just two examples, but it's definitely not just them. Check out the Spotify pop playlists, and that sound is everywhere. But maybe the clearest example of that is the evolution of Taylor Swift from this high energy pop like Shake It Off or We Are Never Ever Getting
please don't
Back
play the
Together
music.
to her newer sound, which is much more chill
It's
and
trash,
indie and well,
trash.
vibey.
I knew you dancing in your leave.
How is this
And the
mainstream,
song that I
man? It
just
makes
played,
me
which
so
is
mad.
Cardigan by Taylor Swift, actually illustrates a lot of what I think is going on here. Just like so many other tracks, that song got
it's
big on TikTok
trash.
last year.
Makes me
But
so
what's
mad
really
that this is what
interesting
music
is
has
that the
come
part
to.
that got big on TikTok isn't the chorus. It's not even some like particular clever lyric. It's just this sort of random vibey part from the bridge.
And I think this is another problem. TikTok has ruined music as well. Everyone's just making stuff that'll really blow up on TikTok and just make really good edits, but they don't focus on what true art and music is anymore. They're just trying to go for the clout on TikTok with their music. It doesn't work. It's not what I want. TikTok has ruined a lot of things, but music is a big
isn't
one.
anything super amazing. It was just sort of written as a transition more than anything else. But when you pair that clip from the song with these sort of like really heavy, emotional, touching moments, like you see in this video about her son's open heart surgery, all of a sudden it feels just like incredibly powerful and touching, right?
That's just sad.
Which brings me to what I think is a huge part of the vibe music trend. Listening to music is no longer a primary activity. Meaning that when I was a kid, because I didn't have anything else to do, I would just like sit down in my room and listen to music, maybe like look at the CD and read the liner notes. But those days are gone. Like nobody does that anymore. For the most part, music is now the background of some other activity that has a heavy visual component. Like you have it on while you're playing video games, while you're studying, or it's the background to a TikTok. And like with that Taylor Swift song, it's used more like the score to a movie than a pop song. And if you think about it in that context, with music being used to support some sort of visual activity, well, in that context, hooks are actually not important at all. In fact, if anything, they might be distracting. Like you don't necessarily want the score to a movie to be really catchy, right? Because it's just there to set the mood and to support the visuals. And I think that explains a lot of trends. For example, the popularity of lo-fi music in general, or the versions of songs you hear on TikTok that are sped up or slowed down with reverb added.
Yeah. I don't know why that's been a thing either, where all the songs and even artists now are releasing like sped up, slowed down versions of their old songs as like new singles. I don't know what the point of that is, really. Kind of weird.
And you'll see some old school fans get upset that TikTok kids aren't listening to the real version of the song.
Exactly.
But what you'll quickly realize is that kids don't care what the quote unquote real version is. They only care if what they're listening to sets the right mood when it's used in a TikTok, again, as the background to video. And speaking of TikTok, as a lot of you have probably already thought of, that brings up what might seem like a pretty important counterpoint to everything I'm saying in this video. What I mean is, at the same time that vibe music has taken over and hooks are in one sense less important, there's also the opposite trend of people only caring about 5 or 10 seconds of a song because it has some really catchy lyric or hook and basically ignoring the rest of the track. But I actually think that's just another version of the same big macro trend. Because again, the point here is that they don't actually care about the song. They only care about that one small clip because again, it sets a mood. Because they can use it to say something in the context of a video.
She talking it, she ain't trying it. He keep calling me crying, bitch. Dance how you killed this.
What is this? Oh, okay.
And so in this context, it's not really even a song. It's more like, I guess, just audio. It's like a sound effect that is oftentimes used as a punchline to a joke, not a song. And the people using it in those TikToks usually don't intend for it to be anything other than a sound effect or a punchline, which is why, somewhat notoriously, a song trending on TikTok doesn't necessarily translate into any sort of long-term success for the artist, as we've seen with people like Steve Lacy and tons of others. And so just to bring this all home, does modern music actually suck? Are songs worse now than they were 20, 10, or even 5 years ago? Well, my personal opinion is that I do think that there are, objectively speaking, less hooks in songs now, but it's not necessarily that modern music sucks. I think it's more that our relationship to music has fundamentally changed. Just like it did in the 80s when MTV came along and made visuals such an important part of it, or in the 2000s when millennials discovered all these songs from Guitar Hero. These trends aren't necessarily good or bad, they're just different, but they do have a fundamental effect on how we make and listen to music. And will the era of vibe music last forever? Personally, I hope not, but if it does, I will do my very best not to become the Principal Skinner meme.
Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
But before I go,
what my problem is, and what my theory is on why music has done so badly, is because people have really, it's the TikTok stuff. And also people just lack originality now. It's just not very, it's not about art. It's about what's played on TikTok and what will get you the most fame and most catchiness to it. And it doesn't really focus on the art of the music anymore. It doesn't focus on the lyricism, doesn't focus on the meaning. It's honestly just like Taylor Swift, for example. She just gives the same freaking story every freaking song about her 80th breakup. And it's it's just the same stuff. There's nothing about it that's brings a message, nothing about the lyrics that bring, like, it doesn't have a message behind it. And it's just music with no message behind it. And then they make it really boring. And yeah, it just doesn't, music has really died off in a lot of different genres because of that. They just lack originality. They lack the message. And it has really sucked these past few years. Although, like I said, I will make a video in these next couple of weeks about a few new albums, but like I said, they're underground rap, but they have brought back art and more authentic stuff to the music, to hip hop overall. So I am happy that in a way that's going the way it's going, but for mainstream, I'm kind of giving up on that. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and also don't forget to like and subscribe to the video or the channel that I reacted to on this video. I will put the video link down in the description below for you guys to check it out. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.